All right, Megan, how are we looking? All right. Welcome everyone to the 2026-2027 Ready by 5 Early Childhood Millage Pre-Conference. We're excited to have you here today and talk about the upcoming RFP that will be released tomorrow. If you have questions, you may enter them in the Q&A portion. Those will be publicized on the First Steps Kent website. And just a couple of guidelines that we have for today. Any questions that we do have, those will be answered throughout the presentation and as possible at the end of the presentation. And then those are captured in the public Q&A document and put up on the First Steps Kent website. Our session today will be recorded and available for you to view again on the website. And any RFP documents that we're going to be talking about today are also going to be available on the website. If you just go to the Millage tab at the top of the web page, scroll to funding opportunities or click it in the drop-down menu, then you can access that information. And then information about a link to Submittable would be right beneath that. All right, I'll move us on to some introductions.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer Headley Nordman. I'm the very proud president of First Steps Kent. I'm so happy that all of you are here to join us. And thank you for your interest in the Ready by 5 Early Childhood Millage that's provided through Kent County. We know that every day you strive to make our community a better place for families and young children. So thank you for the work that you do and your interest in our conversation today. We're going to take some time to introduce you to our team, and I'm going to move across from left to right, top and then bottom. And so I'm going to pass things over to Lindsay Bloomers.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Bloomers, and I am the Finance and Office Coordinator here at First Steps Kent.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kathy Cortez. I'm the Vice President of Finance.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kiana Garcia Zadare, and I'm the Vice President of Community Investments.
Good afternoon. I'm Carter Goldstein. I'm one of our 2 funding administrators here at First Steps Kent.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elise Green, and I'm the other funding administrator for Ready by 5 Early Childhood Millage here at First Steps Kent.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jasper Tinoco, and I'm the data specialist.
Good afternoon. I'm Megan Strang, the Communications Director with First Steps Kent. And I'm going to pass it back to Jen.
And we're going to move to the next slide. Thank you. About the Ready by 5 Millage, just a little background on the work that we do. In Kent County, voters overwhelmingly approved the Ready by 5 early childhood proposal in August 2024, approving the utilization of Kent County tax dollars collected to support early childhood programming. The millage is funded by a 0.25 mil property tax, and the increase that generates about $8 million a year from 2024 to 2030. There's $48 million in total. The purpose of today's pre-conference is share funding requirements, provide information regarding new funding categories, share information for completion of the letter of intent, dive into the RFP for 2026 funding, outline the RFP timeline and the process to submit questions during the application period, and answer your questions about the application process and RFP. Funding details: the contract period runs between October 1, 2026 and September 30th, 2027. For this round of funding, the following estimate is currently available for Kent County's 2026 and 2027 fiscal year, which is a total of $8,700,000. I'm going to pass things over to Kati, who is our VP of Finance and can provide more information.
Yeah, thank you. For this round of funding, we have allocated an estimate of $8.7 million, but this is still contingent on the annual Kent County tax capture. And all services will be paid on a reimbursement payment structure that may vary by service and program category. And funding will be awarded in one of two ways. Actual cost reimbursement, which is when a service provider is reimbursed for the actual expenses incurred for the prior month, or by a defined rate, which is when a service provider is reimbursed per service delivered. The amount reimbursed is set by a fee schedule submitted with the proposal. And agencies will receive payment for services provided on a monthly basis. So we have some financial requirements that agencies must meet to be considered for funding. The proposing agency's financial audit shows the organizations to be in good financial standing. And for agencies previously funded, the program has demonstrated a history of success. Spending has been on track and program outcomes defined in the contract are met. And of course, the submitted proposal is complete. So other things to consider is that millage funds will not supplant existing private foundation or other philanthropic funds, as well as state, local, or federal funds already in use by the proposing agency. The proposing agency agrees to seek other sources of funding in addition to Ready by 5 millage funding, like grants, state, local, and federal funds, donations, and cost sharing if applicable to program type. And you can see the service provider manual for full details about the cost sharing. So now Jesper will go over the program requirements.
Thanks, Kati. So program monitoring and reporting requirements are where all agencies will attend all scheduled service provider meetings, as well as participate in Quality Improvement Consortium meeting, the Provider Network Breakfast, and Discover Day. All agencies are required to participate in annual program assessment. During this assessment, compliance with specifications in the service provider agreement, and the Ready by 5 service provider manual will be reviewed. Each year, First Steps Kent will conduct one fiscal assessment of the service provider's performance to assure financial compliance, and with generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP, and all financial policies are outlined as outlined in the Ready by 5 service provider manual, unless otherwise stated in the RFP, which is Section 2, Part 4 or 5 of each RFP. So agencies awarded funding will be required to report actual costs for reimbursement purposes, submit monthly data or individual level data, and submit quarterly reports as follows. And so this slide really walks through how the data flows from your organization to us. The reporting period begins at the first day of each month and ends at the last day of each month. The submission deadline is the 15th of the following month, where Steve from Kent County Health Department sends out encrypted OneDrive links via email to your designated data contact to upload and submit the 3 different CSV files. The data becomes de-identified and sent to us. So the data is used to reconcile invoices, track performance against contract goals, evaluate services, and monitor service utilization. And one quick reminder is on what disqualifies a record from being counted if the child is over the age of 5 or not residing within Kent County, and any records that are not fully or properly submitted per the specified provider agreement and the data profile requirements. This is only applicable for direct services. And so Ready by 5 tracks contract performance using 3 key program metrics, one of them being number of individuals served. These are children through age 5 served by your program, or in some cases, expecting parents as well. Number of encounters to be completed. These are the number of contacts or sessions to be provided to participants. And encounters are determined during the contracting process, so not during the initial proposal. And finally, the actual program costs. So service partners track and submit this information monthly. During contracting, the Ready by 5 team and your administrative team will determine data submission protocol specific to your program. For your proposal, you'll be asked to estimate the number of unique individuals your program will serve that meet the Ready by 5 eligibility criteria. Remember that this can only include children through the age of 5 or expecting parents. Additionally, if awarded during the contracting process, you will estimate the number of encounters, um, sessions, or contacts, and your program will provide the 2 children through the age of 5 and expecting parents. With that being said, I'm going to pass it on over to Carter.
All right, everyone. We wanted to just share a little bit about our service provider manual. You'll hear us refer to this document several times today and throughout the RFP and contracting process if awarded. This is essentially your one-stop shop for everything involving Ready by 5. And I believe one of my colleagues will drop a link for you all in the chat. If not, we'll be sure to provide that after. So the service provider manual shares program requirements, financial requirements, reporting requirements, and then organizational requirements along with a description of service categories. So if you have any questions, this is a great place to start before reaching out to contact us. And we're always available to help if anything is unclear with that manual. All right, we're going to talk a little bit now about our upcoming RFP opportunities. Many of you are probably already aware, but we will be distributing this round of funding across 4 separate funding opportunities, and these categories are updated from prior years. Agencies may apply for more than one opportunity. However, only one program type may be selected for each proposal submitted. So if your agency has a couple of different programs that you'd like to apply for funding under, you're welcome to do so, but we only accept one program type for each submitted proposal. All right, so our 4 program types are going to be early learning, born healthy, accessible resources, and developmentally on track. As you can see, we also have some writing in each of those pie slices to share what the old categories were that now align with these new categories. So everyone who is currently funded through Ready by $5 remains eligible under these new categories. So we have early learning. This is going to encompass early literacy experiences and other learning experiences for children 0 to 5. Then we can take a look over at Born Healthy. This is going to focus on environmental health and safety, infant health and safety, and then prenatal and postnatal health supports for families and their young children. Taking a look at developmentally on track, we can see that this encompasses developmental and social and emotional screening, ongoing parent education and support to ensure that families are thriving, and then those specialized family supports focusing on specific areas of need. Lastly, we have our accessible resources. So this is going to include language access services, professional development, and then resource and service navigation. These slides will be made available to you so you can refer back to this infographic when selecting your program type. I am going to hand things over to Elise to share a little bit more about each category. Go ahead, Elise.
All right. So our first service category is Born Healthy. Within Born Healthy, all children in Kent County are born into conditions that support safe births, healthy beginnings, and infant well-being. Families have access to programs and services that promote healthy pregnancies, strong parent health, and optimal development during the first year of life. Programs may provide material goods such as cribs, pack and plays, diapers, formula, clothing to infants and children. Service providers may educate caregivers on the importance of safe sleep practices, engaging families with lactation consultants, provide nutrition education, and share resources to ensure developmental milestones achieved. Those funded may also provide metrics, for instance, that lead to infant mortality. Proposals may address environmental health and safety, by identifying and mitigating risk such as lead exposure, poor air quality, or other environmental hazards affecting infant and maternal well-being. Our next RFP service category is developmentally on track. So young children are healthy, engaged learners who are socially and emotionally secure within nurturing families and communities. They meet the key developmental milestones across health, learning, and social emotional domains with equitable access to supports that help them flourish. Proposals may support children's healthy development and social and emotional being through systemic ass- assessments, regular monitoring of developmental progress. This may include navigation to appropriate services and clinical interventions when developmental concerns are identified. Funded programs may also offer tailored services for families facing specific challenges that require specialized expertise, such as disability supports, therapeutic interventions, and targeted programming for children and families with unique needs. Programs may provide ongoing educational opportunities and coaching to strengthen parents' knowledge, skills, and confidence in supporting their children's growth across all developmental domains. Our next service category is access to early learning or early learning opportunities. Every young child and family in Kent County can access affordable, high-quality early learning and care environments that promote development, literacy, and school readiness, regardless of income, language, neighborhood, or ability. This service area programs may offer developmentally appropriate learning experiences and literacy building activities for young children, delivered through play-based groups and community-based settings. Learning opportunities may include interactive parent-child sessions, early literacy storytelling, and activities that promote social emotional development. Service providers may also guide caregivers in fostering language and cognitive growth at home, support family engagement in early learning, and connect participants to additional community resources that strengthen school readiness. Funded partners should track and report data related to child development progress, caregiver participation, and improvements in early literacy outcomes. Our final service category is accessible resources. These support focus on the people, processes, and infrastructures that help families find access and benefit from Ready by 5 services. They may include professional development for service providers, resource and service navigation for families, language access services, and structures for authentic community input and involvement. Together, these efforts build workforce capacity, improve coordination across providers, and ensure that services reflect the needs, cultures, and languages of Kent County families. Proposals should strengthen both the workforce and the systems that families depend on. This may include coordinated professional development that equips providers with the knowledge and tools to deliver high-quality, culturally responsive care, resource and service navigation that helps families connect to the right programs at the right time, and language access services that ensure information is available and understandable to all families. Now I'm handing it back to Carter.
Thanks, Elise. All right, we're going to dive into our letter of intent details and the process that you need to follow in order to complete the letter of intent. So for organizations interested in funding with Ready by 5, the LOI is a necessary part of that process. So this needs to be completed and submitted via our submittable platform before completing the RFP. This serves as a first step in demonstrating that your agency is interested and has the qualifications necessary to complete the RFP. So we have a quick list of information that the LOI requests. This includes defining your funding category. So all of those categories that Elise just shared, you need to select the one that most aligns with your programming. And then you need to determine your funding type. In this, we just need to know if you are a new service or if you are a currently funded organization. We're also going to ask if you are expanding the scope of your work, if you are a currently funded organization, because we'll need some more details on that as well. You're also going to list any partners or subcontractors that you expect to have in your programming. You'll share the dollar amount that you plan to request and upload a summary of your program for our review. All agencies must complete the LOI regardless of current funding status. So if you are currently funded or if you are seeking funding for the first time, you need to complete the LOI no matter what. We'll drop the link for the LOI in the chat and share it out later as well. Please note that LOIs will be reviewed on a rolling basis. So if they're approved, you will receive a link to complete the RFP when it opens. We do have some time for LOIs to be completed. They are due no later than April 22nd, 2026. And if you have already submitted your LOI, you should hear back from us shortly when the RFP opens tomorrow. All right, we've covered the RFP and we will go ahead and share some details about this. This is available on the FSK website. You can click Millage and then scroll to funding opportunity. And this will be, available tomorrow when the RFP opens. This document includes funding details, requirements of funded agencies like those we shared at the beginning of the presentation. It will also share the description and specifications of service, directions to follow to submit your RFP, and then some information on how proposals will be reviewed and evaluated. Please take the time to review this full document. It's a lot of content, but it's important for you as you get going on the RFP process. All right, we just have a quick breakdown here of the different sections of the RFP. Again, we'll share out these slides. So just quickly, Section 1 shares an overview of Ready by 5 millage funding. Section 2 has those submission requirements. Section 3 has service category information and criteria for your reference while completing the RFP. And then we have some additional materials that you can reference listed at the bottom here. So today's slides, the agency training manual for Submittable, which is the platform that you'll use to submit, and then the Q&A document that will be updated regularly as we receive questions and answer them. And Kiana's going to share a little bit about the application process for the RFP.
All right, everyone, just a general overview of our process. The RFP will officially be posted tomorrow, April 1st, 2026, and that link will also be, to complete the RFP will be embedded within the RFP, but you can also find that on the website. When you have that link, you cannot share that with anyone. You will receive a specific code to be able to access that. So it is by request or by permission from your LOI only. Those will be completed and submittable, and they're due no later than May 15th at 5 p.m. and no late submissions will be accepted after that point. So again, it will be available tomorrow, April 1st. The link will be shared with you. Do not share that with anyone. That is your only access point to complete an RFP, and they must be completed by May 15th at 5 p.m. and no late submissions will be accepted. To go over some of the sections that we have, we'll start with section 1, which is the agency information and service category. You'll first determine your service category type. So after you complete your LOI, that's when you get your invitation to complete the RFP. You'll have one of two responses. If you're approved, you'll just select the same service category that you were selected for when completing the LOI, or the LOI and the RFP, excuse me, or you may have been redirected to correct your service category type, and you'll complete the RFP under the service category that you were redirected to complete under. If you were redirected, that would come directly from a funding administrator who would reach out to you if you need to choose a different service category in order to proceed. In addition to that, that first section within the RFP is going to ask you just some general agency information and organizational capacity. So your basic contact information, the type of agency you are, whether you're a nonprofit, a for-profit, et cetera, the missions, accreditations, org chart, and staff credentials that you may have, and any policies regarding staff support and child safety that should be incorporated into your proposal. I'll hand it over to Elise to talk about our narrative responses within the RFP section 2.
All right, so next section will be your narrative responses. So to complete your narrative section, there needs to be an overview and a target population included. Determine the dollar amount requested. Describe elements of your program, including target population and alignment with the selected service category. Include your program model, equity, and service delivery. Describe procedures around intake, service delivery, and discharge. And share your organization's equity focus. I will now hand it over to Kati to talk about our budget.
Thank you. So in this section, we'll go over some budget details. As agencies prepare a budget request, please consider the following. Costs included must be specific to supporting the proposed program. This means that budgets may include costs that can be identified specifically with a program and therefore are charged to that program. Requests for funding may include necessary program-related and administrative costs, so funds should not be utilized to fill general gaps within the organizational budget that are unrelated to programming cost. Cost estimates should be based on the actual time for individuals that is necessary to implement the program. And finally, costs must not support more than 50% of an organization's overall budget. So here in this section, we ask agencies to share a breakdown of their direct program expenses, staff wages, subcontractors, and administrative expenses. So you need to include in each individual line item the title, description, and amount requested, and you can ignore the match and project amount. Okay, here is the full budget for Ready by 5 funds only. And this is how we divided the budget under these 4 sections. So section 1 is the direct program expenses, which are expenses to support positions that are essential to the service delivered that directly support families and young children. And also any position that gives supervision to direct service positions would be included in this section. One thing to consider is that if the proposed program does not provide face-to-face services to families, it is considered an indirect service, and wages and benefits would be included under section 2. Section 2 is for supporting program expenses. Here in this section is reserved for costs identified specifically with the proposed program, but are not the resources providing face-to-face or direct support to families. Section 3 is for administrative expenses. This section is for back office costs only, and they are based on the actual time for individuals that is necessary to implement the program. And again, Ready by 5 funds are not used to fill gaps in your budget that are not related to your program cost. And finally, section 4 is for subcontractor expenses. And we consider a subcontractor any partner agency or contractor included in the direct expenses section who will be receiving Ready by 5 funds through the contract. That includes any agency providing work on behalf of the program that does not fall under an administrative cost. So next here is the sustainability and resources. In this section, we are asking agencies to provide detail of their program's overall funding structure, which includes the total request amount for Ready by 5 early childhood millage dollars, the actual percentage of the Ready by 5 total program cost, the total cost of the program, and the program operations data. And I think Jesper will go over the next steps.
Hi again. So section 4 is about goals, outcomes, learning, and data. So in this section, we're going to ask that you provide an estimate to determine the number of individuals to be served, determine the number of encounters, and list up to 3 program goals, as well as describe changes in services that may affect quality, delivery, or frequency.
In section 5, certifications and attachments that need to be included within your RFP. So we have attachments A, B, and C. Attachment A is agency staff and leadership diversity, 1 form per program. Attachment B is proposing agency agreement. This agreement must be signed by the executive director, president, or CEO, and the board chairperson of your organization, and it will be uploaded as a PDF version to the submittable proposal form. And then attachment C is your proposal certification statement. This statement must be signed by the executive director, president, or CEO, and the board chairperson of your organization. An uploaded PDF version of this agreement must be included within the proposal submission within submittable. These forms can be downloaded from the funding page on the First Steps Kent website. And then section 5 is additional required attachments. The agency's most recent annual financial audit, if not already attached in the application profile. 1 to 3 letters of support for each agency bound in 1 PDF file. Letters should come from partner organizations that can speak to the proposing agency's experience in providing quality services within the focus areas included for the proposals. And then, if applicable, a fee schedule giving the pricing methodology with attention to detail that includes all associated costs to successfully provide services as described in your response. And then a community or annual report, but it's not required. And then there's a video submission. Just note that not all proposals will be asked to submit a video. However, new services or services with a significant increase or expansion of services will be asked to complete a proposal video. Proposals that express interest in completing a 3 to 5 minute video to be shared with the resident proposal review board may indicate on the RFP form whether they would like to receive additional information. Indicating interest or requesting their criteria does not guarantee that your organization will be invited to submit a video. Handing it back to Kiana.
All right. This is just a general for all of our potential proposers. Just giving you some information on how to double check for accuracy. We have included a checklist within the RFP, and that should be available for you all to download, print out, and check as you go. This is meant to help guide you on your way to a completed RFP to ensure that you have all the pieces you need so that you have a completed RFP and you're not rejected for incompleteness. If you have questions about this, you'll have time to reach out to us. Again, those questions will be publicized, so know that any specific questions that you have will be shared broadly. Additionally, you'll just need to check for the narrative that it is concise and it remains throughout the entire proposal. So something you say in one section could balance out what's said in another. Check for accuracy, any grammar issues that you may have, or spelling. Another set of eyes is always really helpful when we have grant writers complete the RFP. It's always nice to have multiple individuals looking at it. You'll want to explicitly provide your positions in the budget narrative, itemized line by line. And there's a specific budget section within Submittable on the platform that will help you understand how to do that. In addition to that, any partnerships where funds will be exchanged should also be itemized and included in the budget section.
Thanks, Kiana. Heading into the last few slides here, we do want to share that First Steps Kent continues to have a comprehensive interest in improving equity among all demographic groups, especially communities of color and families and households with incomes at or below 200% of the federal poverty level throughout Kent County. We want you to consider this in identifying the needs of your programming as you craft your proposal. Please consider group-based factors and share with us those targeted approaches that you will implement to address the varying needs and circumstances of each group eligible for those Ready by 5 funded services. Right, we've shared a little bit about our Q&A period.
I think Carter is frozen. Can everyone hear her?
Oh, you're good. Okay, Kiana says I'm good, so I'll keep going. Oh, okay, I got a message that says my connection's unstable. Let me know if you can't hear me again, but I'll keep going. Okay, well, the question and answer period, again, questions must be made in writing regarding the RFP. We can answer technical questions about the platform as you work through that, but we cannot answer questions relating to the RFP via email. You have until April 22nd by 5 p.m. to submit questions, and we will share a link regarding the method to submit questions. We will not accept any questions after this period. And as I said, those technical questions can come to us via email. So we will update the Q&A document, which will be available on our website on a rolling basis as we receive your inquiries. And we will put the final Q&A document up on our website on the 23rd of April. Just a note that it is the respondent's responsibility to monitor the inquiries and prepare the proposal for submission properly. As I just said, if you have any questions about submittable as you work through, if you're having trouble accessing forms or logging in, please do reach out to First Steps Kent staff. We can help you with that. But again, questions related to the RFP must be submitted through the Q&A form. All right, here we have our timeline for the review process. We will share these slides out so that you can review this. Here we have our board meetings for the First Steps Kent board. We have our resident proposal review board meeting, which will happen June 8th through 10th. Then further down, we have notifications to agencies who were awarded and not awarded, the appeals process, and the Kent County, Board of Commission meeting, along with final award letters, preliminary award letters, and then the start of contract dates. So please feel free to refer to this when we send out slides to keep track of when you should hear from us and when you need to keep track of those dates. And I'll pass it back to Kiana for our final slide.
All right, everyone, we're working on answering some questions in the chat, but I'm going to answer a couple of these live here. Alyssa Bryan asked if we could confirm if it's a new program request and a video submission is required. Yes, for all of our new programs, you are required to complete a 3 to 5 minute video. You'll indicate that in your RFP, and we will provide you with the criteria that you'll need to complete that. And that is because all previously funded organizations have been presented to, or currently funded, have been presented to the Resident Proposal Review Board, who are the decision makers when it comes to funding. Because you're not currently funded, the Resident Proposal Review Board doesn't necessarily have the understanding of your organization, your model, or your frameworks, and those are a really great time for you to give them an insight into your programming type. Let me know if I answered that concisely enough for you, Alyssa. And then we had Madison who asked, can we explain what demographic data organizations are required to collect from families and any cost sharing requirements for families? Jasper, you could take the demographic portion, but because Ready by 5 is not necessarily offered for free to the community, we ask that you state that we as residents are paying for these services to be offered in the community. And we work off of a cost share model, which allows some of our more affluent individuals in the community to take on a little bit of the extra burden of that cost. You can always reach out to us to understand whether your organization is eligible or has to engage in a cost share model. Several of you may already understand what that concept is, but you're always welcome to reach out to us during the contracting process to know whether you fall in that category or not.
Thanks, Kiana. I'll go ahead and answer the demographic portion for that question specifically. Some things that we request would be the child's date of birth, the gender, the zip code, address, and also in terms of like race or ethnicity, and some other additional questions such as education level from the primary caregiver, marital status, and household income, those sort of questions.
All right, Susan Chang also asked to confirm whether a currently funded program would not need to provide a video. That is correct. You would not need to provide a video. However, if you have a significant change or update to the scope of work that you're going to be engaged in, for example, we had a service provider this past year for our PRB who created a video. And it is because they added a subcontractor that significantly increased their scope of work and they wanted to explain that. And therefore, they created a shortened version of a video and provided that to the RPRB so that they could better understand what they were doing in the community. That caused an increase in their funding request and an increase in their scope of work in general. However, that's not necessary for everyone. It is really dependent, and we'll reach out to you even if you do request information on the video criteria. We'll let you know whether that's necessary or not. Hannah also asked, do current grantees have to apply under their current pillar? Or if the same program aligns better with a different pillar, can you apply there instead? Absolutely. If you feel like your work is better aligned with another service category, you may apply under that. Emily, does a previously funded program have the opportunity to provide a video as they are considered a new organization? Yes, if you're not currently funded and you were previously funded, then you would be required to complete a video because you would be considered new for this contract term. Peggy wants to know if the only change is an increase in funding for an existing program, but not an expansion or a change in scope of work. Is a video required? No, a video is not required. I would just clearly explain the increase in funding request inside of your RFP narrative, and there should be plenty of sections for that. We also give you lots of opportunity to attach any material that you feel like would support your base in asking for a higher funding amount. I'm trying to work through all of these. Sasha, for attachments, attachment A, does this need to include workshop leaders and facilitators that support our program model? Anyone that will be funded within with by millage dollars or who supports your programming as it operates, then that would be included in your organization model. Typically, what organizations have done is just include their overall organization and then highlight who specifically will be funded for by Ready by $5. Rebecca, where can I find a list of previously funded service providers? It depends on how long of a list you're looking for, Alyssa. Or sorry, Rebecca, that would be currently on our website is who we have funded. I'd have to get with Megan and Kati to figure out who all of our previously funded service providers were, but it would go back quite a few years. Are there any geographical targets or focuses for these RFPs? Yes, We are looking to reach our northern communities, our urban communities, our southeastern communities. We have a whole map of these that are located inside of the RFP, with some specific zip codes that we're looking to have called out more than others because they receive less services than others. You'll find that in the RFP. And again, if you have questions after you see the RFP, you'll just put that on the RFP form, which we will share tomorrow morning. Give a couple more minutes for questions in case anyone has any. We've got two other questions here. Sasha wants to know if we prioritize any category over the other. No. And again, Ready by Five, the early childhood millage ourselves, we are not in a position to be making any funding decisions. Those are all made by the Resident Proposal Review Board, who is comprised of parents, community experts, and those decisions are made by them. We provide them the information that you all submit, and they make the final decision on who is funded and who is not. Do we have a sense of the millage investment levels for this program year? Shanae, I don't know if I understand your question. If anyone else does, let me know. And that's subcontracting, who should send a proposal? For subcontractors, they just need to be included within your budget, called out specifically, but they wouldn't need to send a proposal if you're including them within your proposal, if that's what you're asking. Oh, I see. Shanae asked how much money will be available this year and what is the percent increase or decrease over the current year. I'm not specifically sure about our increase or decrease. That would be a Kati question, but we do have 8.7 available this year to allocate within the community.
Yeah, prior year was 8.3, so we increased to 8.7 right now.
Thank you, Kati. Oh yes, the 50% financial question. So Ready by Five just cannot support 50% of your organizational budget. So this is not your program budget. It is your overall organization. So if you're a larger organization with multiple levels of programming that maybe don't necessarily align with Ready by Five, or the millage expectations and outcomes, we cannot fund any of those other programs, and we cannot cover the cost of individuals who are associated with those programs unless they are specifically doing Ready by Five work. Alyssa asked, is the program type what determines cost sharing or other factors? There's a lot of other factors that go into that, but you can always reach out to us and ask if you would need to engage in cost sharing at any point during the contracting process. So if you are awarded funding, What we'll do is we will engage you in the process for contracting, and it's at that point that we'll determine whether your organization needs to engage in cost share or not. I'll give it 2 more minutes. All right, everyone. We appreciate you attending today. We welcome any other questions that you may have regarding the RFP and the LOI process. Again, we will share a link after this where you can ask your questions in a formal manner. Again, these will be published and you will have access to every question that all of our attendees today have asked. We appreciate it and we look forward to receiving your proposals. Have a great day, everyone.